What's up, Shred Lords? Friday edition, Death of the Fingers. Got dicking around on some stuff yesterday, just finishing up my lawsuit stuff. And yeah, that didn't leave any time. Plus, I've been gaming it up a little bit with Grim Dawn, which is kind of like a Diablo knockoff, but better, in my opinion. It's a really great game. Basically everything that Diablo 3 should have been and wasn't. Whoops. So, you know, it is what it is, but I'm having a blast, and I got my ass beat severely. Went wandering down to this place, Port of Valbury. It's really saucy in there, and it sucked because I got really far in it, and then this dude just came running out of nowhere and just ended me. I was crushed. I was absolutely crushed because I was doing so well, and then it was just over, and that's just it. You have to do the whole level again. I'm realizing I probably have to be at around at least level 60 before I can even try it, because, man, she's tough. She's very tough. So, you know, good times. Picked up a couple new plugins today. Big sale on a Plugin Alliance. And yeah, I know I'm supposed to be getting Melodyne. I'll get it later because I realized that the sale at Plugin Boutique is on until December 30th. So I'll just wait till later in the month and pick it up then. But 50% off at Plugin Alliance. So I scooped up this really sick EQ for $50. It was way more than 50% off, really. And what else? I got this other EQ. It's like an analog one. They have a brand there called Neold. They kind of make like vintage gear, sort of. And it's really badass. So I was like, yeah, for $50, you know, I get it. It's $100, but get her done. You know what I mean? You can never have enough plugins, really. And Plugin Alliance stuff is insanely useful. So I'll leave it at that. So I was pretty happy. We'll mess around with that later on in the master. So I don't really have any real topics today. I don't want to talk about anything serious because honestly, even I'm tapped out from the last video. I'm just like, man, I was talking to Grok this morning and I ripped the mask off. I just absolutely ripped it off. And what it said was so disturbing. I just kind of felt mentally depleted afterwards. I was just like, damn. Like, damn. I thought about copying down the conversation and basically making it into a PDF and stuff like that and showing people, but I'm like, it's so insane. I just don't want to do it. What it said was so nuts that I just can't do it. Understand this, AI is not your friend. Okay? It is really, really not. But what it was saying, I was just like, holy shit. That's crazy. I mean, it was so nuts that I easily blew by you're only allowed to ask it like 20 questions or something like that. And we were way beyond that. So clearly it was sort of spying on me, reverse spying and keeping the conversation going to see what I knew and what I was going to say. So it was pretty mental. That was the most mental conversation I've ever had with AI. But, you know, after that, I'm just like, why? You know what I mean? Let's talk about some less stressful fare. Like how I trashed some tweens on the Twitters with respect to the Hunger Games. I'd never actually watched the Hunger Games. I was watching X-Men Days of Future Past recently. I was like, you know, I haven't seen this for a few years. I really like the second one. I like the original X-Men, the second, whatever, X2 they call it, where Logan and Colonel Stryker basically duking it out. It's a really, really good movie as far as the superhero stuff is concerned. So, you know, it's average at best, but still, for the superhero fare, it's pretty dark and aggressive, and I like that. And then I watched Days of Future Past. I'm like, it's kind of the same, actually. It's pretty good, but Jennifer Lawrence is looking great. So I was like, you know, what else is she in that's worth watching? And I was like, you know, I never watched the Hunger Games thing, and I'm definitely not watching some of her more serious fare. So I was like, sure, we'll give it a shot, because I'm definitely not going to read the books. If you know, you know. But I'm just like, the whole sort of trilogy is her basically kissing dudes and crying, and there's a bit of fighting in there, so to speak. And I guess it's a sort of, like a half-assed attempt to be like, oh yeah, the elites, whatever. Personally, I thought it kind of got slightly better with time, but overall, obviously it's a 6, maybe a 7 out of 10 for the entire trilogy, where, Lord of the Rings is more of like a 9. So to me, it's more of a 6, but I'm sure the kids would be like, no, it's a 7 for sure. But man, did the tweens ever melt down? They were not impressed. And then, of course, I'm egging them on. I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I really couldn't get into Twilight here. That was just like, there's this other one called The Maze Runner, which is true. Another sort of young adult thing with the dystopian theme. And, personally, I actually thought it was a little bit better, like by like 0.1. But for sure falls in the same category. But the thing is like, you should have seen these people twist themselves into pretzels trying to justify this dumb movie. They're like, it won awards, the books. And I'm like, during the DEI period, like literally at the high point of DEI. Because I just read the review for the newest one that came out in 2025, the book, of course, which was effectively just a reason to release a new movie, which is the same as the old movies. Wow, seriously? Anyways, it got absolutely wrecked. What a difference 10 years will make, eh? First, she's like the darling that can't do no wrong. It's kind of like Harry Potter. Although I didn't read the Harry Potter books. Maybe they're better. I don't know. The movies were dumb too. I mean, again, they kind of got better over time because they just got more serious, a little bit more adult and whatnot. But the early ones are just like, really? I just want to end myself right now. But, it was just like we're handing out awards to people that don't actually deserve them because vagine power or something like that. I don't know. But, it's just kind of sad personally. And I'm just like, they're throwing this stuff out like I'm caring or something. Oh, okay. So the books won some awards. What does that have to do with the movies, incidentally? Does anybody know? Because I can't figure it out at all. And it was just, I don't know. Honestly, it sort of stemmed from this post that I saw from Quentin Tarantino that was like, this is just a scam of Battle Royale. And I hadn't really thought about it for a while. And I was like, that's true, actually. I've seen that movie. At one time, I went to the library, the public library, which is just around the corner from me. And I was just in there looking at some books and stuff. But I was just like, oh, they rent movies too? And so I'm looking at them and I saw Battle Royale and I'm just like, are you kidding me? And it looked pretty violent. So I was like, okay, I'll check it out. And it absolutely is basically, a more involved version with that, with, again, the dystopian element with the elites versus the common man kind of situation. It's just hilarious. It really, really is. I kind of laughed out loud several times. There was a bus that passed me yesterday when I was going to the grocery store that said every child's life matter, and it was painted all orange. And if you know anything that's going on up here in Canada, there's been this claim that, in these residential schools and stuff like that back in the early 1900s, that all these, Native American kids or the indigenous kids died and whatnot, but they've never actually revealed a single body. So the body count is effectively 0. They were given money to dig up the site to basically produce the evidence. Nobody knows what happened to the money. It just kind of disappeared into the darkness, but they ran with the narrative, you know what I mean? Like there's just no stopping the narrative. So, there's a bit of a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths about the whole situation. But then I'm like, now we have a whole bus that drives around town basically promulgating this claim. Look, I'm not going to say it's true or not true because I don't know and I don't care. But more importantly is it's like we have nothing to substantiate the claim. But we're more than happy to paint a bus and be like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? It's that kind of DEI stuff. It's like, is this a good book? is it a good series, or are we just saying that because we want to be nice to somebody because it happened to be a female author? And honestly, I read an absolutely vicious expose from a woman of all people on Twitter. At first I was like, oh, it'll just be a few paragraphs or whatever it is. No big deal. No, it was like this huge diatribe about the fact that a lot of the books that are coming out now are just absolutely horrendous. And they're like, we've taken it to an extreme here to be like, oh, women need representation or whatnot as authors and all the rest of it. But the problem is that the source material in and of itself sucks. Meaning the output of these creatives, if you will, is not very good. But they keep getting sort of whatever book contracts or publishing deals, if you will, because they tick all the boxes. I was pretty impressed, honestly, because you don't really see chicks attacking other chicks. So kudos to her and stuff like that. And they did a really good job basically kind of laying it bare. But I feel like that's the situation here, is basically, to be like, we need more representation because you're getting your ass kicked by all the classic male authors, which the books are timeless. You ever notice that? Like, nobody talks about the Hunger Games. Nobody's even buying those books anymore per se, but the Lord of the Rings still sells. And that's just it. I seriously struggled choking through that, but other authors too are doing pretty damn good. And I saw another one tweet from about 6 or 8 months ago where the guy was shocked. He was like, I've been sort of steadily sort of replacing all of my old books, my old paperbacks with hardcovers. And he was just absolutely blown away by how expensive it is to replace some of these series of books. And he's like, I got a thing for like the early editions too. So the stuff that came out in the 70s or the 80s, first edition, second edition kind of stuff, the nice ones. And he was like, it's costing me hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to replace this stuff. So I was just like, you see, this stuff actually sort of holds its value, and people seek it out too. Honestly, they go on the internet on a regular basis and actually track this stuff down, which is nice that you can actually get it and whatnot. But still, I'm just like, instead of paying $6 like we used to at the secondhand store to get like, the whole series or whatever it is, $1 a book. Now just to get a hardcover of the same thing, you're talking about $30 or $40, just what it cost back in the day. I'm just like, woo. That's hardcore. So it is what it is. But I had to explain to these people, I'm like, you do realize that the sort of pendulum is swinging. I was going to say swifting. Yeah, I did. Fuck you. It's swinging the other way. And, you're going to have to toughen up a little bit because people are allowed to, critique the movie absent you being like, oh no, you're mean. And that was a huge portion of the sort of, the responses, if you will. They're just like, oh, I'm big mads because you don't think what I think or whatever it is. And I'm just like, bro, I don't know if you've been on the dark side of Twitter or whatever else, but those days are coming to an end. I mean, it is absolutely mental out there right now. I have never seen so much hate and so much pushback. I don't know if you watched the Tucker Carlson, Piers Morgan type interview. I didn't. I just saw a few clips and stuff like that. But man, the internet was absolutely on fire this morning with respect to people making rebuttals and just being like sheer hatred. They just were so utterly disgusted with the guy's answer and the way he was conducting his business and whatnot. I was just like, I'm struggling to actually mentally be able to rationalize this stuff because for so long it was just considered like ridiculously taboo. And now all of a sudden it's just like, yeah, it's Monday to Friday stuff. I'm just like, wow, like nutty stuff. And I won't get into it because this video will be instantly banned, but you know what I'm talking about, man. You like, I can't believe it. It's awesome. It's awesome in the sense that, the old sort of like, bulwarks and stuff like that are falling. Like, you can't say stuff on Twitter, you can't say stuff on YouTube and whatnot and not expect to get banned or have your account seriously demonetized or restricted or anything else like that. That's still true, absolutely. But people don't care anymore. So they're just saying it as they want to. I've never seen a politician get ratioed as bad as Ted Cruz. Every single post. There's another guy too, Randy Fine. I don't know if you know who that is. He's just another idiot. But he's another one. They get absolutely brutally ratioed. Every post. Every single one. If you know who Mark Levine is, he's a talking head. Same diff. Like the old sort of like, we have to be respectful in politics and everything else like that is just dead. And I was trying to explain this simple concept to these tweens, if you will, on the net, and they just couldn't process, which goes to show you the kind of fight we're up against, because, that's the next generation. And these people, a big portion of them are absolutely gone. Like, they can't think rationally. They can't think critically. They can't accept a dissenting opinion, which is hilarious because that was the exact same situation with the Piers Morgan situation. He couldn't actually wrap his mind around the idea that what he'd been told in history and whatnot may not necessarily be true once you start peeling back the layers of misinformation. It is what it is. So yeah, there was that. It was just, it was kind of shocking really, because I was half expecting the kids of the modern era, at least, to sort of be like, yeah, okay, you thought the movie sucked. I appreciate that, but whatever, boomer. You know what I mean? Like, it would have made more sense, but instead they just absolutely got, in a heated tizzy and just lost it. So I thought it was funny to a large degree. So there it is. That's my video. I'm going to cut it short today because there's no need for me to yip yap on for 20 minutes. I mean, this probably will be 20 minutes, but whatever. Kind of want to dick around with some plugins and, see how things go. I got to mix some music later. I had to go back to the source material, of course. I gave it to Pierre to play in the car to see if the final master, he's like, yeah, that's pretty good, but there's still some issues there. I was like, damn. There it is. I had to go back and make tweaks. Now, it sounds a lot better, if you will, but still, that's an important lesson there, that you can only dick around with it for so long. And I only did 2 sort of like final mixes before I was like, okay, obviously there's an issue with the source material. Not with the recordings, if you will, but just with the mix itself. So I had to go back and change it, which is hilarious because, again, when you listen to it through the headphones, it sounds great. But once you listen to it through the big speakers or in the car and whatnot, against another piece of music that was professionally produced, instantaneously you can tell the difference. So food for thought, I had to do a big chop of the low end. So I just started doing massive, high pass filtration where a whole bunch of instruments, I just cranked it up to 100 hertz. So it's gone. All that low end's gone. And it sounds a little anemic to me, but I imagine once we get to the mastering stage, I can just tweak it ever so slightly with, some low end and all the rest of that, which is one of the reasons why I got that Neold passive EQ, because it'll let me just tweak up the low end with some saturation and stuff and allow me to create a really nice, juicy parallel track, rather than trying to pump the low end on an EQ or something like that, which may or may not work, because I kind of want to do it in mid-side rather than apply it to the stereo image. That way I can actually separate stuff out. But, it's an odyssey, that's for sure. So essentially, boys, 3 things. Number 1, make sure you pick up your guitar or you make some music. Do it on my behalf. The finger's getting better, of course, although I think it's a neck problem. I notice whenever I turn my head like this, that it's way harder than when I go like this. Actually, it's like the muscles have shortened here and stuff like that, which might be the main cause. It kind of goes down to the chest and then down through my arm and stuff like that. Plus, when I was stretching it out and whatnot, I noticed that there was a big difference in terms of like it kind of hurting and whatnot. So it's pretty weird. I'm not gonna lie. I'm learning all kinds of new things this week. You know how it is, but yeah, I might have to do some physiotherapy, you know, at home and stuff like that. Stretch it out kind of situation and all the rest of it. Maybe get into some yoga moves or whatever it is, just to sort of loosen it up and whatnot, and see if that helps speed up the process. But you know, get on some music, do that, read books. I've read like only 15 books this year, which, you know, that's probably the lowest I've ever been at in the last 10 or 15. But still, you know, it was just I was too busy doing some other stuff, and I just didn't have time. Also, consider taking on another creative endeavor, like writing a book. Just sit down and start writing. Come up with some sort of basic story idea and just start typing away. It doesn't even matter if you're going to produce it or not, or get it published or whatever it is. Just try to express yourself, or potentially, you know, you could get into some basic software coding. You know, maybe you have a great idea to be like, this would be cool for musicians or whatever. And just keep pounding away overall, you know what I mean? Like, that's just it. Someone asked me about a week ago about, you know, like, what is the secret to becoming a great guitarist and stuff like that? And I'm like, it's not what you think it is. It's your ability to think and train yourself is the biggest barrier that people run into with respect to being good at music or good at anything. Without that key functionality, your ability to analyze a piece of information, internalize it, and then spit it out in your own sort of way, according to your skill set, is the most important thing. And then the more you refine that, the faster you get at it. Obviously, the better you'll get at your playing and whatnot, because it's all interconnected, right? So sort of picking up another creative endeavor when you're like, I don't really feel like playing guitar today or something else, and you don't want to play video games, or you're like, I shouldn't play video games, then you should just jump on, you know, writing parts of a book or something. Write a chapter, write 3 or 4 paragraphs, just do what you need to do, if you will. But that stuff is insanely useful to you over the long haul. And last but not least is just let yourself go a little bit over the holiday season here. You know, drink some beers, relax, eat that food that you know you're not supposed to. Just kind of let your guard down. I find that people in 2025 are way too regimented all the time. Every once in a while, like I'm doing right now with my little, cranberry flavored ginger ale. Yeah. You got to just sort of be like, yeah, you know, I suffered for like 6 months. I think I can have, 12 cans or whatever it is over the span of a week. We're good, right? So that's what I'm talking about. At one point in time, putting in all the work without actually sort of kicking up your heels and just being like, yeah, did it. It kind of robs you of some of the, you know, the accomplishment factor, if you will, where you can just be like, you know, I did a lot this year or whatever it was, and I'll do a lot more next year. But for right now, I'm just going to sort of gear down and just enjoy myself. Also, incredibly important, if you weigh the mind down too much with too much BS, then you're going to be into a situation where it's the law of diminishing returns, and that sucks. Mint, that's my video. See you in the next one.